Okay, now we got to see if we can get the pickup side of this thing working, because there's no needle in it. And it'd be easier if we can just change the whole pickup. Let's hope so. Well, I brought this replacement pickup online. Hopefully it's gonna fit. I'd have to take this plug off, but luckily it came with some new ends, because you never solder right onto the pickup, so I can solder these new tags on and install the pickup, but it's going to be a tight fit. This is the old one. As you can see how small it is. As you can see, the new one is a lot bigger. Now it came with and this is small actually, really, not, well, average for a high output cartridge like this, but I've screwed the holder in here. It just sort of clips in, so I won't clip it into the end. First I'll have to put those these connectors on there and then install it and hope that it works. Okay, that's got the ends soldered onto the wires, ready to connect the pickup. Well, it's a bit bigger, as I say, but it just about fits in there. I think we got some other problems. I didn't get much volume out of one channel. Seemed to be some out of the other. Anyway, we'll give it a test, see what happens. I haven't checked the weight or any of the adjustments or anything yet. But we'll just see what happens. It's an old Anne Murray record, a very perfect thing to try it on. Let's see what happens. Oh boy. It's going to be a bit jerky and gurgly for a bit. Oh, it's slowing down on the automatic part. That's what they do when they... Anyway, let's see what happens. Going down. There it goes. These controls are all dirty as hell too. Need all cleaning. Boy, there's a lot of volume. It's a start, but this is really yucky on the auto change. It's slowing down, which it shouldn't, of course, because it doesn't have this bar. It's going to keep repeating the record. Anyway, it's a start. We've got some noise out of the thing, which is always good, and it turns off. Cool. Well, I've given the deck a bit of a clean up here and ironed out a few problems with the switch here. The input wasn't working properly. But the capacitors and everything seem in pretty good shape. I have a little bit more testing to do, but otherwise not too bad. Now speed wise, we're not too bad. That's supposed to be stationary, but it's only moving very slightly. I don't know if that'd even show up on the video actually. That's the inner ring, which is the 45. Now I'll put it down to 33, which it's supposed to be, and that's pretty well the exact speed. So it's not too bad. Yeah, it rumbles a lot, but it's an old turntable. But it sounds alright. Let's put the record on there, somewhere in the middle there, that do. And now we can rock with the classics. Anyways, there's a slight little bit of scratchiness on the balance control, but without changing the pot, I can't do much about it. But it cleaned up all right. It works. The volume works. There's tons of volume with that new cartridge. It blows you away. Okay, well, I guess we'll start cleaning her up. I can't do anything about the automatic, as I said, this arm's broken, but it works manually just fine. Oh boy, well it looks like there's these few years of cobwebs inside there to clean out. Not quite sure about those antenna connections, how they hook up yet. I didn't disconnect anything, they were just like that. Well, that cleaned up alright there with a little bit of Murphy's soap. I have to go out and buy some teak oil. These antenna leads, I just realised there must have been, there's two auxiliary inputs on this thing, so it's probably an add-on tuner you could buy for it, or an add-on tape recorder. So as it's just got the record deck, that is not used. That's why there was nothing connected. The back came up pretty nice with a little bit of armour. I just did a few little marks here. Could touch those up with black paint, I guess. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Now I got to tackle this chrome. It's pretty dirty. There's all rust spots in it. And I'll see if I can use my Dremel tool on that. But otherwise, everything's not in too bad. Unfortunately, those rust's not going to come out of there. Even with the Dremel tool, it doesn't. It won't take the rust out, but it might look a bit better. If it was mine, I'd send these out and get them chrome, but that would probably cost a lot of money, $100 or more. So we'll just make it best we can. Back off the speaker just to see what sort of speakers it had, and just as well I did, because these connections are all twisted up round here, need remaking, a few cobwebs, but otherwise that's it. So it does have a tweeter and some kind of woofer in it. Can't expect too good a sound from those speakers, but not too bad. It looks well. I untwisted the wires, but you see what they've done? Talk about simple. They've just bent these bolts over to act as a stop on this, but unfortunately I'm going to have to take it off because they're going to fall off and it's going to make a horrible rattly sound. So this one, oh no, it's going to come off too. So now we don't have a stop. I can put a screw in or something, I guess. That's a cheap way of doing it. And how they've coupled the tweeter to the woofer is they just used capacitors to cut the frequency off instead of a proper crossover unit. Cheap, but well, I took the cover off the other one and somebody's already removed those bent over parts on that one anyway. Someone's been in it before and used a flipping regular electrical connector on there. So I guess that probably given trouble over the years before. Well, I've got these backs off, at least I can touch those up with a bit of paint. It always amazes me how the polish and the nicotine and that builds up on here. I've been cleaning this up for a while, but I should be able to get that all off and come to the point where I have to scrape it off with a knife because it just sits there. And then we got to do something about refinishing the top here. There's a nasty mark there, but this is only veneer, so you can't clean it off too much because you'll go right through the veneer. But see what we can do. A little bit closer to the original colour on that. We can do anything about this sticky stuff and these horrible marks. That's just wet with the turpentine, but I must say it came up pretty nice. Got those marks out. I just need to go and buy some proper stain so it's got a nice finish, but that's looking not too bad. Well, that's all sanded down now. Now I need to go out shopping and find some teak finish, maybe just some matte varnish or something, so it's got some protection on it, and some water-based, I think, matte black paint just to touch that up, and that'll be the next thing. I'm starting this finishing. Hopefully it'll look pretty good. I just did that one little section to try it. I'm doing this stinky job out in the garage with the heater on, as you can hear it blowing. Well, we'll leave the heater on and hopefully that'll dry alright tonight. The other part's over here in my messy garage, so that's been painted too. Well, I think the next thing I'll do before I do any more is put the legs back on. But first, as you can see, they need a bit of a shine up. I'll see if I can buff them up somehow. Put them back on the cabinet. Well, that's got the chromium legs cleaned up and the thing's back on its feet again. And I'll leave it like that for a while to make sure all that finish is finally hardened and well, now I'm giving the turntable a second cleaning. It's just amazing the nicotine that comes off of this. And people used to smoke, what they used to do to their lungs, I couldn't say. Well, we got it cleaned up now. We got to get it back in the cabinet somehow. It's not going to be easy because these things all move and they're just in a hole, and the only thing it holds is like a screw going into there. I'm going to put this label back first and we'll see how it goes. The speakers plugged back in and the label back on, but I'll have to start it up, I guess, just to see if I got the speakers round the right way. Well, as per usual with these things, when you go to put it back and you finally test it, you've got a problem. So anyway, it's fixed now was input connections. Another problem on the input connection, so hopefully that's the end of it and I can put it back in the cabinet. Well, that must have been one of the most frustrating things ever, because there's just these two bolts, they're just in a hole, so of course they just fall out when you try and put the bolts in. Most frustrating. Of course I had to pull all the turntable out again to do it. I was hoping to do it just by lifting it up, but no way. Well, there we are, more or less finished, just a few odd things to do now. That's in the out with the speakers out. And that's what it looks like with the speakers in. Either way, it looks pretty good. So that's how it looks in the closed position. Just giving it a coat of wax. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video on the restoration.